So welcome, welcome. Hip and lower body stretch out today. It's warm, so make sure you have a drink, have a rest whenever you need to. The good thing about being so warm is that our muscles tend to be more receptive to stretch, and that's one of the reasons I thought we'd do a little hip workshop today, because we might find we've got a little bit more mobility in that area where some of us get quite stiff. And we've got to think about what we're doing is almost a 360 approach to our hips. So when we think about the hips, we tend to just sort of put our hands maybe on the side of the body or the front of the body, but we're going to try and get into that whole kind of pelvic bowl area, if you like. So we're going to do a little bit to strengthen the bottom, the glute. We're going to work on the side of the hips, the glute medius, so we'll work on that. And we'll think about lots of different ranges of movement. So some of the moves might seem a little bit strange, but what I'm trying to do is to get that head of your thigh bone moving around the hip socket in as many different directions as I can. So we're really lubricating and freeing up some space in that joint. And you might notice as we go through them that you think, oh, that side works okay, and this side feels much stiffer. I know I certainly feel very one-sided. And that's perfectly normal. But I've noticed when I'm sitting, and I think maybe a lot of us are spending more time seated at the moment, I'm crossing my legs the same way every time. So it's a real, when I'm doing something like this, it's a real message to myself that I need to either change the cross of my legs or, even better, stop crossing my legs. So a little bit of hip work today. We're going to start lying down though. That's always nice. So it's a nice floor-centered flow as well. So bring yourself down onto your mat. I'll stay seated for a moment just in case anyone joins us a little bit later on. I can admit them. And as ever, you want to bring your knees to your chest. Have a little movement there. Feel free, especially if your back is tight, especially in the morning if you've not long been up and about. You know, the back sometimes feels a little bit tight after lying flat. So you can rock, roll, or have a nice full body stretch before we all settle. And we'll come today in semi-supine, so feet on the floor, knees pointing up towards the ceiling. Remembering you can always take your feet wider apart and allow your knees to lock together into a nice inverted V shape. Let's just take a few moments just to arrive at our practice. Closing the eyes, relaxing the arms alongside you. You can have the hands resting on the belly or the chest. And I was reading a lovely book over the weekend by David Michie. And he's written some lovely books about meditation and mindfulness. And for cat lovers out there, I can recommend The Dalai Lama's Cat and the Art of Purring. But he's written this lovely book called Hurry Up and Meditate. And I kind of love that. I love the title there. And as we begin our practice, I just want to read you a few words that he quotes. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is kind of attributed with bringing mindfulness, the term mindfulness, into the Western world through his work as a psychologist. So as we just allow the body to settle into stillness, this is what Dr. Kabat-Zinn wrote. Dwelling in stillness and looking inward for some part of each day, we touch what is most real and reliable in ourselves and most easily overlooked and undeveloped. When we can be centered in ourselves, even for brief periods of time in the face of the pull of the outer world, not having to look elsewhere for something to fill us up or make us happy, we can be at home wherever we find ourselves, at peace with things as they are, moment by moment. So let's begin that part of our day where we can begin to be still. Begin to turn that spotlight more inwards now. And just notice what you're bringing to your mat today, how you're showing up for your practice. And first of all, maybe it's those physical sensations you might be noticing, areas of the body that feel a little bit tighter than usual, or conversely, areas that feel a little bit more loose and open. But then after a few breaths, you can begin to drop down a little deeper beyond just what's going on physically and begin to explore maybe what's going on a deeper level. As Dr. Kabat-Zinn says, that coming into yourself. You might begin to notice how you're feeling energetically this Sunday morning. Heat sometimes enervates and energizes some people, but for others it can drain them and feeling a little bit heavy. So kind of where are you on that spectrum with this beautiful weather? And kind of acknowledging that, recognizing that, and let it inform your practice today. And during this strange period we're living through, maybe emotionally as well, we need to regularly check in with ourselves. Our emotions seem to be, or at least mine are, a little bit closer to the surface than they usually are. So how are you finding this morning, this week? How's that reflected in your emotional state this morning? And again, honouring that. The breath maybe just over these few minutes have become a little more steady and stable. Slower and deeper. We'll start just by honouring the breath, beginning to bring our awareness into that lower body, into the area of the hips. As we all just bring your feet now hip width apart, so just bringing your feet closer together if the feet were wide. Just bring the arms down alongside you, turning the palms down towards the floor, and just start by lengthening fingertips down towards your heels. You might want to just kind of tuck your shoulder blades underneath you a little bit more so you can broaden the chest, lengthen the neck. And as you inhale, let's just extend the arms all the way back above the head. I love doing this just to begin a practice. Really gives you a chance just to explore some space in the body. So the arms might be alongside the ears. You might have them a little bit wider apart today. Let's try and soften the rib cage. So you're feeling a nice sense of softness through the chest. Lovely. Beautiful. Breathing into the top of the hips. So we're already beginning to stretch out through the top of the hips, and we'll just begin to build a little flow, begin to bring our awareness to our hips. So take a nice inhale there, and as you exhale, let's bring the arms down, but begin to push the hips up towards the ceiling, coming into a little bridge flow. And then as you inhale, we lower the hips and extend the arms. So just working with your breath now. So we push the hips up as the arms come down on the exhale. And then as you inhale, the hips come down and the arms reach all the way up and back on the in-breath. And you might be adding a little, almost like a full stop at the end of each part of the breath. A moment where the body is still. Going back to those words of Kabat-Zinn, finding a moment of stillness. And at the end of each inhale and each exhale. Lovely. So the next time you've got your hips pushed high, we'll all meet there. So the arms down alongside your hips, pushed up towards the ceiling. And just bring your fingertips onto the front of your hips there, front of the pelvis, those little bony bits. And imagine there's a spirit level now across the front of the hips, that bubble right in the middle, or maybe on your belly button. So shifting the weight slightly into your left, so if you can just pick up your right heel without the body wobbling from side to side, and then lower that right heel. And then we do the same with the left, a little bit of marching feet. So we're trying to keep the front of the pelvis relatively stable, getting to fire up those glutes as we do one more each side, lifting the right heel and lowering down, lifting the hips up so don't let the bottom drop. When you bring the left heel down, slowly, let's lower the hips all the way down. We're going to add on and build a little bit more strength. So inhaling, arms reach all the way up and back. Exhale, as the arms come down, we push the hips up, making sure the knees are pointing forwards and parallel. Inhaling, lowering the hips as you extend and open through the arms. And then once more, we'll pause with the hips held high in that little bridge. We'll squeeze the bottom, inner knees rolling towards one another, and again, fingertips just on the front of the pelvis. So you can either keep with that little marching feet, just lifting one heel and then the other, trying to keep that sense of stability. Or this time, shift the weight into the left foot
And maybe just hover your right foot off the floor. That's a little bit harder. That's really firing up that glute. Woo, wiggle, wobble. Bring the foot down, make sure the hips haven't dropped, and then just change sides. So this is really working the kind of the support of the hips, the bottom, that big gluteus maximus. It always sounds like a Roman emperor. So last one with the left foot or heel lifting, lower down. Let's bring the arms down, a little push of the hips up. My bottom had dropped a little bit there. And then slowly, slowly, let's lower all the way down. Beautiful. Bringing feet and knees together now. So you can squeeze your knees and your ankles together. Inhale, float the arms all the way up and back. Last one. And as you exhale, push the hips up. And just by bringing the feet together, you maybe notice you've kind of narrowed that base of stability. So you maybe need a little bit more support there to keep the body from wobbling from side to side. So again, we're just doing that lifting and lowering. So inhale, arms come back. And the next time the hips are up towards the ceiling, we'll pause. Again, fingertips might just be on the front of the hips. Now you might just want to stay there. If you're feeling very unstable today, just stay there. Try and keep that sense of balance between the right and the left foot. Or see if you can extend your right leg out, keeping the knees together, just pointing that right foot forwards on the diagonal. And then bring the right foot down. Try and avoid that wiggle wobble as you extend the left leg so the knees are still brushing together. Lovely, come back through center. One more each way, make sure the hips haven't dropped. So you might need to push the hips up. Woo! Beautiful. Again, trying not to wobble too much from side to side. Lovely, release the hands. And this time lift both heels up, come up nice and high. And then we can ripple the spine down, vertebrae by vertebrae. Well done. Oh, and give the knees a squeeze now. Squeezing those knees in, a little massage out. Ooh, a little circle of the knees one way and then the other just to release through the bottom. A little massage through the top of the buttocks there. And then we'll meet with the knees to the chest. Any issues with your back today as we do these twists, you can bring your feet down to the floor. But if back feels okay, knees to chest, and we'll all bring the arms out. Shoulder height, lovely. Again, a little tuck of the shoulder blades towards one another so you feel breadth across the chest. Take a nice inhale. As you exhale, tip the knees to the right, just coming down about halfway. Little twist, and then inhale, use the strength of the core to pull the knees back to center. And then we change direction, tipping the knees just halfway down. You're not aiming to touch the floor, we're just beginning to explore that rotation. Let's just carry on with the breath. So the head might start to turn in the opposite direction to the knees, if that feels okay. So we're using the strength of the core on an exhale to bring those legs all the way back through center. Let's do one more with the knees to the chest. And then we'll add on depending on how the back feels today. So really listening to those messages the back is sending as we just continue over to the left. And then we'll come back through center. Now the option is to stay there or extend both legs up towards the ceiling. Keep a little softness in the knees. Take a nice inhale, and as you exhale, the legs tip over to the right. Again, just a little move so we're not overloading the back, and then inhale all the way back through center. Exhaling over to the left. Remember, you can bend the knees anytime. Beautiful. Lovely. Let's do one more each way, and then we'll add on a little bit for the inner thighs now, that action of bringing the legs in towards the center line of the body. So we'll come back through center. And a very inelegant one, but great to stretch out the inner thighs. We'll take the legs out nice and wide. No one's there to look at you guys. You push the heels away from you. So think about a rainbow now. So that right leg, you're going to bring that right leg all the way up and over to meet the left. And then take that right leg all the way back out in a nice arc, back into that nice inner thigh stretch. Lovely. And then left leg comes over to meet the right. So you're squeezing the inner thighs together, lovely. And then that left leg opens, lovely. So do one more each way. Remember, you might just be sticking with the knees to the chest. You might just want to extend both legs or join me in that little inner thigh stretch. Last time with the left leg meeting the right. Don't worry if you're working faster or slower than me. We'll all meet in that nice inner thigh stretch, pushing the heels away from you, pulling the toes towards your face, and then bending the knees. We'll bring the heels towards your bottom, keep the knees nice and wide. And we'll just slide the hands down, either just onto your knees or down towards your shins, your ankles.
And just draw your heels down to your bottom, knees out nice and wide, as though you want to flatten your lower back down into the mat. So think about lengthening your tailbone down towards the top of your mat there. Really nice to release any tension in the low back. Beautiful. And then we'll bring the hands just to the outside of the knees, so you can bring the knees together. Cross the ankles, catch hold behind the knees. If you want to rock up to seated, you can roll up. You can take a couple of rolls to meet you there, or just roll to one side. Oh, and I'll come round to face you. Beautiful. So this is when you might want a little block or a pillow, because we're going to come to sit cross-legged with your right leg in front. I'm just lining up my heels to my groin there. If that's not for you, then work in a long frog this morning with the soles of the feet together, so you get a little bit of openness through the hips. If you're with me, you've got right leg in front of left. You can always pop yourself up, give yourself a little bit of height on your cushion if you wish. Lovely. And with the hands just resting on the knees, just sitting up nice and tall, so you get that lift up and out of that nice kind of pelvic basin there, lifting the spine up. And we're going to start to circle the body, starting by going over to the right, shifting the weight forwards, over to the left, and then that little drawing back. So we're almost traveling around the base of the pelvis there. So it's going to be a little bit of movement. So it might be a small circle, it might be quite big and generous. Lovely. Just kind of bringing some freedom to that area of the body before we start anything more dramatic. Let's do one more nice circle all the way around. Beautiful. And then coming back to find that nice long spine. So you're sitting right up on top of the sit bones. We'll sweep the arms up as you inhale. And swim the hands behind you. You can walk the hands away from you a little bit so you can lean into your hands, fingers face forwards or out to the side, so you can roll the shoulders, lift the chest, maybe lift the chin. Get that beautiful start to the day. Breathing all the way into the chest, right down into the lower belly. And feel free to stay there, or if the hips feel okay and you can keep your knees on the floor, you might push the hips up with a little squeeze at the bottom. But rule of thumb is if the knees don't comfortably go to the floor, you're kind of better keeping your bottom down. Lovely. Slowly, slowly lower the hips if they're lifted. Coming back to find that nice long spine. Sweep the arms forwards and up as you inhale. And this time hands land in front of those crossed legs. I'm just going to walk my bottom back a little way, find some space between my heels and my groin before I take a little lean forwards. So the trick here is not to go too fast too soon, and try and keep your sit bones grounded. So it can sometimes be quite dramatic to kind of bring your forehead down to the floor, but if your bottom's lifted, we've lost the anchor point for the stretch. So much better to have the hands closer to you and that anchor point of your sit bones really pushing firmly down into the mat. And you might, over just a breath or two, be able to just relinquish the body forwards a little more. See how that feels. Trying to keep both knees open and relaxed there. Lovely. And then when you're ready, slowly, slowly walk the hands back. Take a little lean into your right bottom so you can bring that left shin either tucking it behind you, so you've got your right shin in front, left shin out to the side, or extend that left leg out on a diagonal if that's more comfortable for the knee. So wherever we are, right fingertips to floor and left hand onto your right hip. And try and sit that left sit bone all the way down. Press it right down into the mat there. Lovely. And now lift it up from the floor and try to roll that hip forward. So you can see that movement's coming from my hip and not my shoulder. And then we try and plug that sit bone all the way back down. So inhale, we try and lift up. You might find that there's space between your bottom and the floor as you inhale. And then exhale, we try and sit that hip all the way back down. So we're beginning to almost roll around the head of the femur there, really oiling and lubricating that joint. So you might just want to stay here with the hand on the hip. You can kind of feel that movement. Or if you want a little bit more, that left hand reaches across the body as you inhale, pushing the palm away. And as you exhale, we draw the elbow back, maybe take a little twist. So inhale, we push the palm away as you roll and lift the hip. And as you sit back down, you maybe draw the elbow back, take that little twist to the left. Let's do that a couple more times. So you can make the movement as big or as small as feels comfortable. So last time, reaching the arm across the body if you wish, and then taking that little twist. Lovely. And then we'll come back to center, left hand onto your shin or the floor if you've got that leg out on the diagonal. Reaching up with that right arm, take an inhale. And as you exhale, take a nice stretch over to the side. So we're stretching out through that right side of the body there. Beautiful. Slowly release. I'm going to do that again with a little add-on if you wish. So inhale, reach up, and exhale, reaching over. Now you can stay there, or that left hand, you bring all the way around to the right thigh there, and just see if you can begin to turn the chest. We're still reaching that arm all the way up and over, but you're trying to roll your chest up towards the ceiling. If the hand doesn't quite touch the shin or the thigh, you can always just bring your fingertips to the floor there, adding a little bit of twist. Beautiful. Slowly, slowly, let's release. Lean it into, again, that right side, so you can extend now that left leg all the way in front of you, and bringing the right foot to the floor inside or outside of that extended leg. Again, important to keep that sit bone glued down as we come into a little twist. Hand or elbow draws that knee in towards the chest, and you can sweep the right arm up as you inhale, turning the chest, maybe turning the gaze, and really try and draw that knee, that right knee in towards your chest. But again, that sense of grounding out through the hip bone. Let's make that extended leg nice and active there. Kicking out through that left heel. Softening that back shoulder so there's space in the neck. Lovely. Wringing out the spine, but also maybe feeling it a little bit in the outer hip. Lovely. Slowly, slowly release. Extend both legs. Give them a little bit of a stretch. So this time, this is when I always get confused about lefts and rights. So this time we've got our left leg crossed in front. We're going to do that all with the left leg in front. Again, feel free to prop yourself up. Now this is definitely my tighter side. I can feel instantly. So hands on the floor or on your knees, and we'll start by circling the body to the left this time. So this is definitely my tighter side. So I can instantly feel that this side is kind of going to need a little bit more TLC than the other. Thinking about, again, which way I cross my legs. So I'm working on my right side because I'm mirroring you. I'm right-handed, so I think I lead everything on this right side. Lovely. You might have found it on the other side if you're right-handed. Let's come all the way back through center, sitting up nice and tall. So again, lifting up and out of the hips. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, swim the hands behind you. Ready for that chest opener. So hands can stay quite close to the bottom, or you can walk them a little further away from you as you open through the chest. Try to avoid dropping the head too far back, and feel free to add that little squeeze the bottom and lift at the hips. Again, if the knees won't touch the floor, I'd keep your bottom down. Ooh, beautiful, lower the hips. Chin draws down towards the chest. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Ready for that little forward fold. So as you bring the hands down in front of you, again, I'm going to make that little adjustment, just walking my hips back a little bit, space between my heel and my groin, and then explore. And this side again is not feeling quite as receptive. So I'm just going to take it easy there and try and relax that left knee down. Remember to stay anchored through the sit bones, and you might notice again that one side feels distinctly different to the other. Again, much better to have the hands close to you and feel that anchor point. And then we'll walk the hands back. Take a little lean into the left this time, so you can bring that right shin tucked up, back behind you, so made a zigzag with the legs. Again, option, extend the leg out and have the heel in towards your groin. Might be a bit more comfortable there. So right hand onto your hip this time, try and sit that bottom all the way down. And then again, you lift the buttock and then roll that right hip forward. So make sure it's the hip leading the movement and not the shoulder. And then we try and sit right back down. So inhale, we lift and roll. So imagine pushing the hip crest down towards the floor and then sit quite heavily into that sit bone. Oh, one side on me. I can't believe how lopsided I am. I must be walking like John Wayne. So you might want to stay here and you can really feel what's going on, Or we release that right hand pushes away, so you're getting a nice rotation. And then we take a little twist, elbows draws back, and you turn to the right. So the movement again might be quite big, depending on how comfortable that feels on the spine. Remember, you might have that leg extended rather than folded back behind you if that doesn't work for you today. Let's do one more of those. So lifting and rolling, more important to focus on the hip. The arms are just a bit of an add-on. We'll come all the way back, taking hold of the right shin, or fingertip to floor if you've got the leg extended on the diagonal. Reaching that left arm up, and we'll take it kind of mermaid stretch all the way over. So we're stretching out now the left side of the waist, relaxing that left knee down. Oh, that feels nice. Come all the way back through center and bring the hand down. Option to repeat that, or the hand comes across the body to the thigh, reaching all the way up. So as you take that side stretch, first of all, get the side stretch, and you keep that top arm reaching up. You try and roll your chest and take your gaze up towards the ceiling. It's not a big move, but you're kind of trying to turn the rib cage. If that's not for you, keep the hand on the shin and just get that more kind of fine side stretch rather than getting fancy and adding a twist. Lovely. And then slowly we'll release, leaning into that left side so you can bring the right leg out in front. So this time the left foot inside or outside, really doesn't matter, anywhere where you can keep your sit bone grounded. So it's opposite hand to knee, right hand or right elbow glues that knee in towards the chest, sitting up nice and tall as you inhale, left arm lifts, circles behind as you exhale, and the gaze might follow that back shoulder, or bring the gaze forwards. We're really focused on opening up through the shoulders, so try and make your shoulders as broad as your chest there. That back shoulder isn't folding in. Kick out through that extended leg. Lovely. So that back hand is quite close towards you, like a second spine, keeping you nice and upright. And slowly, come all the way back through center and extend the legs, giving them a little bit of a shake. So we're going to come round onto all fours, so we'll tuck the feet round, making your way onto all fours. You won't need your cushions, although it's handy if your knees feel a little tight, you can always pop a cushion under your knee. Let's bring the hands over the shoulders, but we'll take the knees nice and wide and just start to circle the hips there. Let's just loosen everything off a little bit there. Nice big circles. Ooh, that's good. And then the other way, just a few times. Lovely. And then we'll keep the hands where they are under the shoulders, but this time we'll bring the knees underneath the hips. So we're in that kind of nice box position. Ready just to open up through the front of the chest and into the back. As you inhale, let's tilt the tailbone up. Bring the chest forwards. Keep pushing into the hands so we're not collapsing into the shoulders as you find that nice arching of the back. And then exhale, tailbone tuck. So we're getting that nice movement in the lower back as well as between the shoulder blades. So tilt the tailbone up. Ripple that movement all the way along the spine as you lift the chin, keep pushing into the hands. And then again, start with the tailbone tucks, and we round up, so chin to chest at the last moment. So again, we're keeping the focus on the lower body, just by initiating that movement from our tailbones. And the next time you're in that nice angry cat shape, that lovely rounded back, you might just want to stay there, pushing your hands and your knees into the mat. Or from there, just nudge your hips from side to side. So keep that nice rounded shape, and I can feel that I can get a nice stretch into my lower back and my hips just by gently nudging my hips from side to side there. Lovely. And then we'll come all the way back through center into that nice neutral spine. Looking forwards as you press into your hands and slide your right leg. Make sure I've got space behind me. Slide your right leg back behind you. Ball of the foot to the floor. Firm up through the belly. And have a little rock back and forth. Stretching out and opening up through the back of the knee. Make sure the head hasn't dropped there. So keep just looking just beyond the fingertips. Lovely. And then bringing the shoulders to sit comfortably on top of the wrists. We'll raise that right leg up. Just hip height with the toes down. We're going to do 10 little pulses here. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Turn the toes out to the side. We're going to sweep that leg out to the right. as far as feels comfortable, and then bring it all the way back in line with the hip. Try not to shift the weight over to the left. So we'll bring that right foot so the toes are slightly turned out to the right, and then come all the way back. Beautiful. So this next time we're going to land that right foot. So it's more or less level with the knee, might be a little bit further forwards there. You might want to try and press the little toe edge of that right foot towards the floor, just making sure that the inner thigh and the inner knee feel safe. Left hand stays where it is. Let's take the right arm up, so we're coming into a nice open twist, pushing into that left hand as you inhale. And as you exhale, let's thread that right arm underneath. Lovely. Keep pushing into that little toe edge of the right foot as you unfurl that arm all the way up. Inhale. A little bit for the upper body as well. Exhale as you thread the arm through. Beautiful. Once more. Inhale, taking the arm up. And last time, we'll feed that arm all the way through. Coming into that twist, so stretching the arm all the way up towards the ceiling. Let's pause there because that just feels delicious. Gorgeous. And then we'll bring the hands down. Pick up that right leg. See if you can swish it all the way back. Now, option, you can bring the foot down. You can bring the knee down and push up into downward dog. If you want to work with a little bit more strength, we keep that leg extended. Tuck the left foot under, and we'll push up into a three-legged dog, taking that right leg all the way up and back. So wherever you are, reaching that right leg all the way up and back. Beautiful. And then slowly lower that right foot down, so we're in a downward dog, and have a little pedal out there. We're not going to do many of these, so let's enjoy that downward dog. And as we're working on the hips, you might want a little wiggle of the hips side to side. Just loosening up there, make it nice and soft. And then we'll drop that down onto all fours. I'll come round the other way, and we'll try all of that with the left leg. So gaze forwards, push into the hands as you stretch that left leg back, making sure that the belly's nice and firm. A little bit of rocking, finding some space in the back of the knee. Oh, that feels nice to stretch my feet as well. Lovely. And try not to dip in the middle, so really bring navel up like a press does towards your spine as we bring that left leg just level with the back hip in 10 little pulses. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Turn the toes out slightly, and we'll swish that leg all the way out to the left, as far as you can without leaning too much into the right. This side's hard. Come all the way back. Lovely. So toes turn out. We take that little swish, so don't worry if it's not very big in terms of movement. Ooh. And then let's try this one last time. So we're going to bring that foot all the way around and then land that foot. Again, try and press into the little toe edge of the foot to encourage the inner thigh and the inner knee not to collapse. You can always turn the toes up towards the ceiling if that's more comfortable. So same hand as leg. So it's that left arm we reach up, getting that lovely open twist as you inhale. And then we'll get that nice stretch as you feed the arm through. Exhale. Lovely. Inhaling, arm lifts. Beautiful. Exhale. So you might be following the hand with the gaze. So once more for that nice thread. Keep pushing into that little toe edge. Firming up through the inner thigh. And then let's pause in that delicious twist. So reaching the arm up, really pushing into that supporting hand so your shoulders are stacked and the chest is beautifully open. Lovely. And then we'll bring the hand down, ready to find that three-legged dog. So either as you swish that leg back, easier level, knees down, downward dog, and then extend the left leg. Or keep the foot on the floor as you tuck those right toes under. Or lift that left leg level with the hip, tuck the right toes and push up and back. Woo! A three-legged dog. Beautiful. And then slowly, slowly, let's lower both feet back into that downward dog, or all fours if you wish, and have a little pedal out there. Beautiful. And then let's find a moment of stillness in that downward dog. So that little bend in the knees maybe, so you can send your rib cage back towards your thighs. A tucking of your pubic bone up towards the ceiling helps to open up through the lower back. And your arms in line with the sides of the body, making that beautiful up-ended V shape with the body. Beautiful. So let's lift up onto the balls of the feet, lift the hips nice and high, and drop your heels over to the left, trying to keep pushing into that right hand. And then stretch on the outer hip, come all the way back through center, and then we'll take that little dip over to the right. Again, pressing into the left hand, come all the way back through centre. Let's come over to the left again. We've got the option to keep the legs straight or bend the knees and push your bottom towards your heels, like a little kind of twisted spring there. Lovely. And then come all the way back up through centre. Spin the heels to the right. We can keep the legs straight or bend the knees and push your bottom back towards that heel. Lovely. Come all the way back through centre. And we'll take the right leg all the way up and back into that three-legged dog. Bending that right knee, bring the heel to your bottom, and now try and lift that right knee a little higher up towards the ceiling, so we're opening up through the front of the hip. Beautiful. Take a nice inhale, and as you exhale, step or help that right foot forward. Oh, and we'll lower the back knee. Beautiful. You can flatten the foot, keep the toes tucked, choice is yours. Let's find a lunge as you inhale, arms sweep up. And as you exhale, slide that front heel forwards as you lower the arms down, coming into a little hamstring stretch, fingertips might brush the floor. Bend the knee, sweep the arms up. So now we've got a nice stretch in the top of that left hip as you inhale, and then exhale, we stretch into the hamstring. Lovely. So again, that 360 journey around the hips, inhaling up and exhaling down. So last time, inhaling, so we're dropping that left hip forwards as you inhale. And we'll find that little hamstring stretch now as you exhale. So you might want to bring your hands onto your thigh. You might be able to bring your fingertips to the floor. Really depends on how the hamstrings feel today. You might want to continue moving with the breath in and out. If you want a little bit more, right hand might just envelop your right toes and draw the toes towards you. So we're getting a stretch in the foot as well as kind of deepening that stretch in the hamstring. So we're all going to find our own way as to what feels safe for us today. Lovely. If you're holding on to that foot, let's release the foot. Bring both hands to the inside of that right foot. You bend the knee. Lovely. And just toe heel that right foot out to the right a little bit. You can leave the toes pointed out on the diagonal. Lovely. Right hand to the inside of the knee. And gently begin to ease that knee away from you. Let it tip open, not forcing. Lovely. And you might want to stay there. Or you might want to begin to add that little barrel roll of the chest up towards the ceiling. And maybe even release that right arm all the way up. So feel free, hand to knee, gaze low, or adding that level of twist as works for you. Beautiful. Bring both hands back down to the inside of the foot. But then walk that right foot back in so you've got your knee snuggled into your upper arm. Right hand stays on the floor this time. Squeeze that knee in towards your upper arm and take the left arm up. Oh, that's an interesting one on the top of the hip. Woohoo! And then bring both hands down to the inside of the foot. Let's step back onto all fours, widen the knees, big toes point together, easing yourself down into a nice wide-legged child pose. Let's just pause there for a moment. Taking those moments in between postures to let the body almost assimilate what's gone on so far, how that feels, what adjustments we maybe need to make on the other side. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, let's make our way back onto all fours, pointing both knees forwards, tucking the toes, and we'll take the hips up and back into that downward facing dog. Lovely. Bit of flow. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, spin the heels to the left, legs straight or bending the knees, pushing the bottom down towards your heels. Inhale through center, hips and heels high. Exhale, a little spin over to the right. Again, legs straight or pushing the hips down. Let's come all the way back through center. Taking the left leg up behind you. Am I going to make it without ending up in the bookcase? Just about. We're going to bend that left knee, bring the heel towards your bottom. And now see if you can point that left knee up towards the ceiling a little bit more. Oh, take an inhale and exhale, step or help that left foot forwards and drop the back knee. Oh, it's cooking in here now, getting rather warm. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And as you exhale, slide that heel forwards and we'll brush the fingertips towards the floor, coming into that hamstring stretch. Bend the knee, so now we're dropping that right hip forwards as you reach up and getting that nice stretch in the back of the leg as you exhale. Lovely. Couple more of those. So there might be quite a deep arch in the back as you're arcing the body up and back. You might want to keep the shoulders more or less in line with the hips rather than coming into that full crescent lunge there. So last one, either adding that little back bend, so you extend the arms, arc and back, and we'll all find that hamstring stretch now, either hand stacked on the thigh, or fingertips might frame your shins or your foot, and that left hand might cup your toes and draw the foot towards you, so you're feeling a little bit of stretch in the hamstring there, and also a nice one to stretch out through the arch of the foot too. Beautiful. And then slowly, slowly, let's plant the foot. We'll bring the hands to the inside of the foot. Again, a little shuffle out to the left with the foot. Toes turned out on the diagonal. Left hand to the inner knee. We begin just to allow that knee to swing open. As far as feels comfortable, never forcing it. One side again, you might feel you've got more movement. I certainly can on this side. So you might want to keep the hand there. You might want to reach up into that little twist. So we're turning the body up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. And then hands come to the inside. But we walk that foot in now. So your knee is really snuggled in towards the upper arm. Squeezing the knee inwards, we take the right arm up this time. So keep squeezing that knee in towards the upper arm, and you might find that you can feel that stretch down into your right hip. And then we'll bring the hands to the inside, step back onto all fours, and again, take that nice wide knee child pose for a moment. Knees nice and wide, big toes touch. Ease yourself down. We'll take a couple of breaths there, and even there you can get into the hips by kind of creeping your fingertips forwards as you anchor your hips back. So you're really lifting and lengthening the body out of your hips there. Beautiful. So knowing that you can happily work from all fours, I'm just going to turn around again. So I've got my right leg facing you. So finding your way back onto all fours when you're ready, and happily work from all fours. Or last time, finding that downward dog, hips nice and high. So this time, right leg lifts up and back, just as we did before, bending the knee. But this time, we'll try and bring that foot towards your left shoulder. So we're opening up in that little dog peeing on a lamppost. And let's try flexing that right foot. See if that adds anything interesting. Woo! Beautiful. Coming back through center, so that heel is towards the bottom. Try and point that right knee up towards the ceiling. Take an inhale. And exhale, step or help that foot forwards. Lovely. Lower the knee. Last little bit. Let's rise up into that lunge. You can keep the toes tucked. I'm going to flatten the foot for this one. Gives me a bit more stability. We'll reach the right fingertips down towards the floor, and that left arm arcs up and over. So we're stretching out the top of the hip. Inhale back through center. And exhale, left hand reaches down. You might reach the floor, depends how deep your lunge is, how long your arms are. Inhale through center. Let's do one more each way. So we're reaching the body down, trying to keep that knee pointing forwards. A little bit of balance there, Barry, sorry. Inhaling up. And left fingertips reaching down. Beautiful. Coming into that lunge as you inhale. Bring the palms together, and as you exhale, let's hook your left elbow over that right thigh. Fingertips pointing forwards. We'll keep the gaze down towards your foot. We've got the option to stay there, pressing the palms together, or tuck your back foot under, lift the knee, so we're powering up through the legs, stretching out through that back heel. I'm going to keep the gaze low for my neck. Beautiful. See if you can push into that supporting elbow so the chest isn't dropping. We've got that lovely sense of space between thigh and belly. And then releasing the hands down, frame the foot. We'll step back into that downward facing dog. And we're going to do all of that on the left leg. Again, I'm going to turn around just so I'm facing you. Left leg sweeps all the way up and back. Bending the knee. This time we offer the heel towards your right shoulder. So we're opening up through the hip. Beautiful. And then we'll bend the knee, bring the bottom towards that left buttock, and try and lift that left knee a little higher up towards the ceiling. Take a nice inhale, And then exhale, step or help that foot forwards. Lower the back knee. Again, I'm going to flatten my foot for stability as you rise up into that lunge. Beautiful, shoulders stacked on top of hips, take an inhale. So this time it's the left fingertips that reach down, right arm arcs up and over. Lovely, inhale all the way back through center. Exhale, other side, so you might be looking down towards the fingertips, reaching down. Choice is yours, one more each way. So a little bit of balance involved there. Trying to keep the chest nice and open. Lovely, I can feel that really opening up through the top of the hip, all the way through the sideways. Last time, right fingertips reach down. Lovely, all the way up. Palms touch together, take an in-breath. And as you exhale, we'll lean forwards, hooking right elbow over the thigh. I'm going to keep the gaze down, but I can still press my palms together, turning the chest, just as a bit nicer for my neck. Feel free to take the gaze up towards the ceiling if that works for you. If you're feeling wibbly wobbly, we stay there, working, lifting the belly away from that front thigh, or tuck the back foot. Power up through that back leg, so you're stretching out through the back of the leg. Beautiful. Keep lifting away from that front thigh. And then let's land the hands, step back into that downward facing dog. Lovely. And then from downward dog, let's come back down onto all fours. Now we've got lots of options here. We're going to come into a pigeon pose. So if pigeon isn't for you, bringing that knee forwards and diagonally across the mat, come down to lie on your bottom, lie on your back, and I can give you an option. So if you're with me, we're going to bring the left knee forwards and bringing that shin diagonally across the mat, left knee just behind left wrist. Slide that right leg all the way back behind you until you're sitting evenly and the hips feel that they're square to the front of the mat. If that isn't for you, lie on your back. We'll hook left ankle over right knee and you can bring that left shin closer towards you if you wish. So we've all got that left leg in pigeon, so hands quite close towards you. See if you can come into proud pigeon, lifting up through the chest. Lovely. Take a nice inhale. And those of you who find it really nice to come down onto your forearms as you exhale, or even extend the arms out straight in front of you. Choice is yours. I'm going to keep my hands quite close towards that left shin, working my right hip forwards. And I just find just by having my hands closer, it works for me. I can feel the stretch. When I'm lying over that extended leg, it really doesn't do very much for me at all. So see what works for you there. Either in proud pigeon or sleepy pigeon. Beautiful. Easy breaths. Try and relax into the hips there. So I said some of these moves are a little bit crazy, and this is one of those crazy ones. So feel free to stay exactly as you are. If you want a little bit of a challenge, imagine now you want to draw your inner thighs towards one another. So we begin to squeeze the legs towards one another. So you might find that you've got some space between your hips and the floor. So you squeeze the legs towards one another and you might be able to lift the arms all the way up. That's hard pose. So feel free to keep the fingertips on the floor in that gentle pigeon. Oh, and if you're with me, squeezing those thighs together, slowly lower the hips. Bring the hands down. If you're in that sleepy pigeon, laughing at those of us doing that move, you can walk your hands back. So we're all meeting with the hands planted, the chest lifted. Let's tuck the back toes under, lift the knee, push into the hands so you can hover that left knee off the floor, and we'll step back onto all fours. Oh, you might want a little circle of the hips there. If you're on your backs, you're just going to change sides. So this time you've got your right ankle hooked over your left knee. If you're on all fours, we'll slide that right knee forwards, bringing that shin just diagonally across the mat, sliding or walking that left leg back. And we take a moment there just to settle in. You've kind of got to make sure that you feel comfy there. If you've got your pillow and you feel that you're collapsing into that right buttock, pop your cushions or your pillows just underneath your right sit bone there, and it gives you a little bit of extra height. Let's keep the hands quite close towards you to start with. Lovely chest opening in that proud pigeon, we've got the option to stay there, or down on forearms, or even extending the arms out straight in front of you. If you're lying down on your back, you can have a little roll side to side with that right shin drawn in towards the chest there. Take a couple of breaths there. Pigeon is one of those Marmite poses. I love it, but for a lot of us, it can make us feel irrationally angry. I'm sorry if that's you. Ooh, now, are you ready for that little challenge? So happily stay there, or we've got the hands close to that front shin. And you imagine you want to squeeze your inner thighs together. So as you squeeze the legs together, you can lift the bottom, whoop, and maybe lift the arms all the way up. Oh, I have got my bottom lifted, I promise you. Oh, I'm finding it as hard as you guys. Oh, and then slowly, elegantly, gracefully, we lower the hips. We bring the hands all the way down, lifting up the chest if you were in a sleepy pigeon. Tuck the back foot, you're gonna lift the knee. So you can push into the hands, pick up that right knee, and we'll come back onto all fours, knees wide, and just circle off through the hips there. Did you like that little lift? So good job you were all on mute, I think, for that particular one. Let's bring the knees together now. So we can pop the bottom to one side and stretch the legs out in front of you. Lovely. So it really doesn't matter which way you're facing now. I'm going to bring the soles of the feet together, but keep the soles of the feet quite a way away from your bottom, because this is a nice release for the hips, not necessarily a stretch. It's called tortoise pose. So sliding the hands down towards your ankles, towards your feet. Allow the body just to yield forwards. You can cup your toes and just allow your forehead to drop down towards your heels. So we've got lots of room for adjustment there. You can walk your hips back away from your feet, giving you more space. You can thread your hands underneath your ankles, so you wrap your hands around the tops of your feet and then fold on in. It's called tortoise. So retreat to your shell. Oh. So we're just giving the hips a little break now. They've done enough. So just coming to that gentle restorative position. Very easy release for the hips. Shouldn't feel too hectic there at all. It's not cobbler's pose with the heels close to your bottom. A couple more breaths there again. Nice forward fold as well, just soothing the nervous system. If you've got your hands threaded underneath your ankles, unthread your hands. And then we'll slowly walk our way up, lifting up through the spine, bringing the feet to the floor and bringing yourself down onto your backs. Hugging your knees in towards your chest, one hand on each knee. And just take the knees out wide as you circle them, like you're doing a lazy breaststroke. So let's just do a nice soothing off for the hips. Gently massaging them there. Take that round the opposite way. So reverse your breaststroke like a little frog. Beautiful. And then we'll bring the feet down to the floor. Arms out, shoulder height. Just add a little tick-tock of the knees from side to side. Inhaling the knees to center. Exhaling a little tick-tock over to alternate sides. Let that just be nice and soothing. When you've got your knees tipped over to the right this next time, let's pause there. You can slide your feet further apart, slide your knees further apart, or you can bring your knees and your ankles together and just scoop your knees up towards your chest. You want to stretch as well for the lower back, as well as that rotation through the spine. So we'll all find somewhere different. Let's close the eyes there, just allow the weight of the legs to draw you down. Really doesn't matter whether you've got the heels a long way away from your bottom and the knees far away from the chest, or whether you've come into that little kind of tighter twist, the knees hugged in. Easing through the breath. And if you've got your head
Just turn to one side. Let's bring the gaze back to center. And on an inhale, let's come all the way back through center, and exhale, take that to the other side. And again, adjust according to what feels really nice for your back, for your hips. Sliding the feet and the knees a little further apart if you want a more gentle release, or stacking the joints and scooping the knees up towards the chest. But try and drop some weight into that right shoulder blade wherever you are. Just allowing again the body to settle, their weight of the legs doing all the work. Oh, your hips have had a good old stretch out today. I certainly feel that mine have. Hope yours do too. And then slowly, slowly, on an inhale, come all the way back through center. And as you bring your feet down to the floor, and just like a snow angel, bring the arms back down alongside you. Just deciding where you want to be for a few moments of relaxation. If you've got to rush off, absolutely fine. If you've got things to do, you want to join me just for a moment, just to allow the body to just assimilate the practice. You can stretch the legs out. If you've stretched your legs out, just have a little flip-flop through the toes, in and out a couple of times, and then just let them flop out to the side so your hips feel nice and open. The lower back needs that little bit of TLC. Feet on the floor, wide apart, and your inner knees rest together. I'm just going to come up to seated. Stay there, just lying down for a few breaths with the eyes closed. And coming back just to those words I read at the beginning. Dwelling in stillness and looking inward for some part of each day, we touch what is most real and reliable in ourselves, most easily overlooked and undeveloped. When we can be centered in ourselves, even for brief periods of time, in the face of the pull of the outer world, not having to look elsewhere for something to fill us up or make us happy, we can be at home wherever we find ourselves, at peace with things as they are, moment by moment. We're just taking a few moments now really to come home to yourself. And after all of that movement, after that stretch, it's almost like you're a little snow globe that's been shaken up. And we're just letting all of those flakes just settle now. Everything becomes hopefully a little bit clearer. The mind is very busy. Just remembering that conscious breathing is your anchor. Allow the mind simply to become absorbed in that process of breath. And every time it wanders, we just draw it back without admonishment, without beating ourselves up. We start again. Following that inhale as it comes all the way deep down into the lower belly, a sense of lightness and openness, and following its path out as you release that exhale. And we find that sense of heaviness as the body can relax into the floor. And lightness as you receive each inhale. And a corresponding heaviness as you release each exhale.
keeping the eyes closed. So you just begin to deepen and lengthen the breath now. And this is where, if we're not careful, the rest of the week, the rest of the day can kind of come rushing back and undo all of that good that your practice has done. So just try and keep it at bay just for a little longer as you continue to focus on the breath, as you begin to move the body slowly and gently. Your fingers, your toes, maybe the head, having a little roll side to side. Let's extend everything, arms back, legs extended. Let's open ourselves up from that lovely full body stretch. Ready to receive this beautiful day. And then when you're ready, give your knees a little squeeze. Or rocking or rolling, or simply linger in stillness a little longer. And then wherever there's space, to the right or to the left of you, just roll into that space, rolling onto one side, and just pause there for a breath or two. Again, the knees just drawn up towards your chest, little fetal position there. And then with no sense of haste, come and join me in a comfortable seated position when you're ready. It never has to be cross-legged. A few lovely sleepy faces there, beautiful. And then we'll just bring the hands just together at the heart, closing our practice together. Lift your breastbone to meet your thumbs. As you lift up, you find that lovely space through the front body, the belly lengthens. Feel a little bit more open, positive when we're open to receiving whatever the rest of the day may bring. Lovely. Closing the eyes, the chin just dropping down towards the chest. Just thanking each other for sharing that practice, coming together on a Sunday morning. And namaste. Thank you. Let's pop everybody.